Wake Up Radio Network.
A rational voice in a world of conspiracy. Jim Duke Perspective.
My website is jimdukeperspective.com, and you can listen to the podcast on any of your favorite apps, favorite players. If you would like to contribute, you can go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/JimDukePerspective. So I think that democracy, well, what they call democracy is a threat, but I think that we have encountered what I call the desecration of independence. Because they're basically desecrating the Declaration of Independence.
I agree wholeheartedly, Jim.
So, did you watch this debate at all?
I watched the recording of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so did I. I unfortunately sleep at night and I go to bed early, so I couldn't really see it. I mean, did you hear? If you understood what Biden was saying, he was actually admitting the Democrat socialist playbook.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad, because now the Democrats, I can tell they're all walking around dismayed, realizing who they actually are, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a reflection, and it's like a mirror of their morality, essentially.
Exactly. They told who they were, if you heard what they said. And my problem is that I'm not a socialist, and I don't like the socialist antics, because it's socialism is like a form of communism. I'll explain that, because this is very pertinent. Now, I hate getting political. I say that I'm not going political. I'm not making a support for any candidate as much as I am against the ideology of another candidate. But I tend to think of myself lately as apolitical, which means not political. But unfortunately, politics is part of the New World Order and part of the system that's upon us. So I'm going to address it under that guise rather than under support for anybody, because I'm not going to tell anybody to vote for the other guy any more than I'm going to tell them not to vote for Biden. But as far as the voting system's concerned, in the voting process, we're not required, but we're obligated to participate in the system by voting for one of the yo-hos. And I'm going to try to get this image up. I should have done this ahead of time, but I didn't have it prepared. But I'm going to get this. I'm going to get the soundbite playing of this debate. The debate actually didn't do anything, I don't think, to change anybody's mood, anybody's decision. Because everybody that watched it had already had bias to who they pick, right? Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
It didn't do anything to change anybody's mind. Biden supporters justified his failure. Did you see that? I've been on Twitter. Biden supporters actually justified his failure and said, oh, look how strong he is to get back up when he's down, and is proving his strength and his integrity. Unfortunately, he can't run a nation because he's not coherent enough. But he went on and said, I might be old. I might not bounce back as fast as I used to. I might not be able to debate, but heck, when I'm down, I get back up. And they all cheered. Now, I made a comment that Biden can run as a dead corpse and they would still elect him just because they don't want the other guy. Do they really know what the presidency is for, what it stands for? It stands for a leader of a country, and you're going to vote for a corpse, a zombie, a dead person as the leader of the country. That's what they're saying, just because they like the guy. I think they're basically pity votes. They were defending him, going, oh, he failed, but he didn't put on a good debate, but what a great speaker, and he was honest. How do you know he was honest? He couldn't even talk.
You're right.
But I think that no matter what they do, the biased supporters are going to vote one way or another, and you're not going to change their mind just by a debate. So I think the debate was just a presentation, more like a circus. And CNN was actually noted that they were concerned about the Democratic Party, that whether they should run him or not. And some of the Democrats are murmuring and trying to talk his family into having him step down, but they can't come out and say it. Any Democrat that comes out publicly to say anything will end his career.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. They know it.
Yeah. So let me just play the soundbite of this debate. You'll get a gist just from this on how idiotic it was. And Trump almost had to feel sorry for this guy. I'm sorry, but I'm not a Trump supporter for various reasons. But in this debate, Trump was coherent, Biden wasn't. Let me play this.
Yeah, let's hear this. Yeah.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
So he comes out and waves to no audience.
It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, but each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered.
I'll comment on that.
He went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous.
Just to comment on that, I got a little more to go. All right, first of all, I catch the civil right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to address that. Secondly, he said, what's the difference? People are up in arms about immigrants coming in, and some of them are raping, and some of them are doing crimes. No more than your own family. You can have rape in your own family, so why are you making a big stink about them doing it? Does he understand what he just said? He's saying that, okay, so there might be actions in your own home or in your circles already like this. So what difference does it make whether we get 30 million immigrants in here to do the same thing? Is that what he said?
It sounded like it. And it was a major blow to their party.
It was. If people really, elevated, emphasized what he just said, but they won't. All right, I'll continue this stupid thing.
And do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
They cut
Number
him
three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. In addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care, strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with.
Trump's looking at me like, what are you saying?
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
He just changed subjects.
Right, he did beat Medicare. He beat it to death. I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership.
Anyway, that's enough of that. So I just wanted to make a point that he was totally incoherent. For anybody listening, they can't see it. I was watching it. That wasn't Ozzy. That wasn't Ozzy. That was
Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, that was Biden.
That's hilarious. Yep.
It sounded just like
Ozzy.
Ozzy.
You're right.
Mumbling
Yep,
Joe.
he's kind of just like him. Wow.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that wasn't him. No, it's kind of sickening, but it's nothing more than, I mean, if he ran as a corpse, they would vote him in. We'd have weekend instead of weekend at Bernie's. It'd be weekend at Biden's. So, this is so. I don't believe that this did anything to change people's perceptions. As I said, I think that people are voting for ideologies and parties only. The Trump fanatics are for a purpose. I mean, I think they're for Trump as a businessman, hoping that he will turn the country to a lesser government-run state and more of a business-oriented state. And, conservative state. But you got to remember, even Trump wasn't always a conservative or a Republican. He was a Democrat. And a lot of businessmen are. You'd think that they'd be conservatives, Republicans, for business and less for government. But you got to remember all the kickbacks that big businesses get from government. They're not going to abolish their base. So when you're a big government, you're probably likely to be more Democrat. If you're smaller entrepreneur or smaller middle class business owner, you're probably on the lower level, getting the bulk of the hit of taxes and everything else. I mean, just alone in New York State, if you got employees, you're sunk because of the cost of employees. But of course, those people in that category are more likely Republican. But the higher ups are globalists. A lot of them are on boards of banks and such. And these people are, I don't want to say outright socialists, but maybe globalists. But the truth is that what Biden said about the civil rights of the states. Did you catch that? He said, Trump wants to abolish abortion and give it over to the states. He says, what right do the states have is basically what Biden was saying. What rights do the states have, the civil rights of states over the government, that they can haphazardly come up with their own rules? They need to be subservient to the federal government. What he's saying is that he doesn't think the Constitution of individual states, so that the government can never rule over the states, should be enacted. He thinks that federal government should have the rule over the states. That's what these people think. He actually admitted it. That's socialism.
Exactly.
And that means that he's for what's called a centralized government, where the government in whole governs over the states and the people, where the people don't have the rights. Collectivism as a whole, the whole has more power than the individuals, which means that the whole could be persuaded by democracy of the mob rules 51%. So that's all they have to cater to get the ruling class in. And this actually creates more of a globalism thought mindset, because the government is more tending to have a tendency towards globalism, where the states individually having civil rights would prevent the government from taking over completely, which is what it was supposed to be, a constitutional republic. So these guys have admitted that they have changed the whole name of the game to democracy, and that when he says, oh, they're trying to destroy democracy, yeah, we are, because we don't want the federal government and socialism to take over.
Exactly.
That's what they want. So, of course, I'm against it. So when I do my posts and Twitters to the president and to the socialists and all this, I say to them, the first thing I say is, of course you're going to vote for Biden. Of course you don't want to destroy his democracy, because his democracy is socialist and you're a socialist. But I'm not a socialist, so I'm against the socialist system. Therefore, I call you out as communist socialists, and I side more with a constitutional republic, a conservative constitutional republic, where the government doesn't have final rule over everything.
I'm in total agreement, Jim, with you.
Yeah, but we're talking to the choir, and this will never reach their ears. But just so we understand where they're at, and it's clear, and to understand where we're at. And what's funny is the elite are well aware of the state. They're not stupid. They know Biden can't run things, and they know that they have to get somebody in more powerful, and they probably will. But even if they don't, they're probably relying on the overstretching impulses of Trump, and they're going to use his ego and his convictions to constantly just derail him. And they're going to use that to show that Republicans are no better than what we claim the Democrats are. However, they're basing it on a level of operation, not on the level of ideology. So you never get past the gaslighting to get to the actual issues. And if you realize we're battling issues, not people, not popularity, then you would realize that we're battling socialism versus constitutionalism, not Biden versus Trump per se. Trump's supposed to represent the conservatives, but he's also done things towards globalism more cunningly, more covertly, but he's given leverage to his financial friends. He has catered to his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who is a globalist, and a Zionist, Shabbat, who supports Israel. So Trump was not only supportive of Israel, but when he was president, if you remember, they dubbed him Prince of Jerusalem. They gave him a title, and they made a coin in his honor to be the spokesperson in salute to Israel. Therefore, he became like a prince, known as a prince, and he also gave yield to the Sanhedrin Council, who enacted a Noahide law. What's that? Give leverage to the Israelites, the Jews? No. The Noahide law, based on the Talmud and the old Noahide innocence of Noah, believed that the laws for Moses are superseded by the innocence of man through Noah, and that through innocence, non-violating the 10 basic laws, and we're not talking about the commandments, the 10 basic laws of Noah, man is to live. And one of those laws that they believe is a violation is idolatry. Now, will they come after people who don't believe in God or who have idolatry of other gods? Not necessarily. But one of their stated enemies, they believe it's idolatry to believe in Jesus. Now, that's not what's so bad. What's so bad is what they call for a penalty. They call beheading for the penalty of violation of idolatry. And that would mean that they would, in essence, come after Christians and call for their beheading. I don't think they have that power, or at least I don't think they're at that point of enforcement. But what if we usher in and yield to them more and more, as they're doing in the White House? They have a representation in the White House. What happens when they start chipping away at the policies of the laws and start making it more uncomfortable for Christians? I mean, they don't have to say we're going to behead Christians because they're in idolatry. All they have to say is Christians are preaching a specific God, and this is against the Constitution and violation of church and state, and they can't proselyte their God, so they have to shut up. And if they don't, they're causing hatred, hate speech, and they could be tried as criminals under hate. See where this can go?
Yep.
I'm not saying it will, but it could, technically.
It could, right. They're trying to set it up.
They could be setting it up, yeah. So this is why I don't like what Trump stood for on that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
So would I clearly vote for him? Well, if I vote for him, am I voting for Noahide laws? I don't know. I wouldn't want to take that chance. But what else chance do we have? I'm not going to vote just to get a chance of ruling out the other guy. Why don't I vote for if voting's truly who you believe in your conscience, then why are we voting specific party of who we think has a chance even if we don't like them, the lesser of two evils? Why don't we vote for somebody that we really do like and have a real say in our vote and not worry about which party he's part of? Wouldn't that be truly expressing our vote? I had people tell me, oh, if you truly care about this nation, you'd vote for Trump. I said, why? Well, because you know no other party can win. Oh, so I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils. If voting is truly what you believe, then why don't I vote for the third party guy? He might be a better choice for me. I might have more in common with him. If enough of us thought that way, we could definitely make a wave. They almost did it with Perot. He got the most votes of a third party vote. People were so sick of it. And they got to get sick of it again. But I don't think it's going to turn around that easy. I think it's going to need a revolt. I don't think it's going to turn around. The truth is, I don't doubt that both sides are controlled, including our luscious Trump, who they have control mechanisms. They know. Whoever they prop up before us, we know has to be controlled. Look at just what Carroll Quigley said about the system. He said the argument that the two parties should represent opposing ideas and policies, one perhaps of the right and the other of the left, is a foolish idea, acceptable only to doctrinaires and academic thinkers. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policies. Do you know what he's saying? He's saying both parties should be socialists. That way, whoever's not is going to be seen. It's going to be obvious, and we could throw them out because both parties should basically say the same thing and not take away from this shift of policy of where they are. Well, guess where we're at? That's basically what we have. And he said, I should know. I for 20 years, I've been under their teachings, under their doctrine, and the round table that I know, he didn't expose them. He was actually trying to get them their ideology exposed because he wanted it in society. He says, 2 years I examined their papers. I knew both parties are controlled. His problem was that they should get rid of the other party and the constitutional republic in favor of socialism. And Joe Biden admitted that. A federal controlled centralized government. That's socialism. And it's a mild communism. You could vote for what you want, but the unlikelihood is that it won't change anything much. You need to change the whole system, not just the morons propped up before you. And that's not likely going to happen unless there's a revolt first. So, we've known that the system is deliberately leaning this way. It's just that the people need a sense of appeasement and involvement to keep them from revolting completely and running better candidates. So the voting options are basically closed. Does this mean that they run a script? Now, I've been told that they think that Trump actually has a Hollywood written script in front of him that he has to memorize and go out and play a part. I don't think it's that critical. I don't think it's that, obvious. I think that many people claim that Trump's controlled opposition. I don't doubt that, but that he's running a script, I think he's better than that. I don't think he can be limited to a script the way he goes off at the mouth. His ego's too inflated. He doesn't like to be restrained. But they do know how to rein him in. And even if he gets to the campaign, you can be sure that they're yielding to him for some reason, just like they did the first time. But they're going to fix it either way. I believe it's fixed. But I believe this whole circus is to keep everybody polarized. Just think about it, Darren. If we were too close to each other, if the ideologies were too close, then it would actually not be as obvious which side you'd want to go on, right?
Right.
You'd pick one or the other, and it doesn't matter because they're both the same, practically speaking. Just like the Democratic Party. They side with the Democrat. They toss and turn, or what I'm trying to say is the the campaign nominees, like that they have running for Democrat Party and the Republican Party, they prop up Democrats and they prop up Republicans, and they all fight it out who's going to be the final representation. But all along the way, the people are divided, but they go back and forth. They don't care one way or another. They don't have that much to that's going to be given up. But with the parties, it's a deliberate left-right division. There's a chasm in between. And the reason they do that is because they want us polarized. They don't want us in the middle. They want us choosing one or the other. So they set a nincompoop on one side that stands for democracy, and they send an egomaniac on the other side that has boldness that people clearly want to support, both sides. And this keeps us rightly divided. And then they can control him. Now, to those that think he's a shill, I guess we have to wait to see if he's assassinated or not. Will they let him run that long? Well, he probably gets assassinated before he ran. But if he did run, who knows? It's a crapshoot of who they want. They'll still use the opposition. They'll still use the other guy. But you got to remember, the system is not set up for a conservative party anymore. It's set up for a socialist democracy. Socialist Democrats have the leverage there. So they just keep teeter-tottering back and forth, and they'll eventually get the Democrat back in, chipping away at the policies slowly so that we don't realize we've gone socialist, even as Republicans. Now, all I have to say is that if Trump did get assassinated, all I could say is that the people probably will still say it's part of the plan. He faked it, or something like that. So they still won't believe it.
He was granted immunity today by the court.
Right. That doesn't mean that they're going to forgive him for being convicted, though. They're still going to put the conviction on him in the media and the left. The left is going to constantly hammer that point that he was convicted, even though they can't prosecute him. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They're going to still say, I seen the tweets, Darren. They're still saying they didn't even care if he was guilty or not. They said he's a criminal. He's a rapist. He's a racist. They put all these labels on him. They don't care if it's true or not. So they're just going to keep hammering that he's a criminal.
Right.
They don't care. Convicted. And now they have more fuel. He's a convicted criminal who escaped prosecution that we're going to put in office. They're just going to use it. This is just going to further polarize us. That's all.
Then I'm wondering why they're so mad at him. Either they're very good actors or this isn't,
They hated him before he ran. They hated him when he was first running the campaign. If you remember, they were calling for him to be prosecuted before they even had a cause. I remember seeing tweets by Rob Reiner saying, "Oh, Trump, I hate Trump. I hope he dies. He should be convicted. He's guilty. He's a criminal." And when people were asking what he's a criminal of, he's like, it doesn't matter. They didn't even have anything on him. They were calling for him to be impeached even before he had any reason to be impeached. They just wanted him impeached. Yep. They said, because we hate him. And then the rest of him, he's this, he's that. But, whether his character is flawed or not, Biden is an accused pedophile. Not just by the public who has a perception because he sniffs little boys and girls and
it's terrible.
Has his hands all over people. People are nervous around him. His own daughter. Do you hear the biography?
Something, but not
Ashley
totally.
Biden, I think her name is. She wrote a biography about her father. And she said, he scared me so much with his inappropriate acts every time I took a shower that I was afraid to take a shower with him in the house. I had to wait till he left, and I took him at night when he wasn't around because his inappropriate actions to me. She admitted he mishandled her.
Wow.
He mishandled her.
That's not good.
No, it's not. It proves one thing, that somebody close to him came out and made an accusation. And these guys want to cover for him. But if Trump did that, oh my gosh. Headlines.
Yep.
Convict them.
Yep.
I love the people that say Trump isn't suited for public office. And then they have Biden. Yeah, Biden is.
It doesn't get any worse than that, I'll tell you.
Either way, for being apolitical, I'm talking about politics, but this is all to do with the globalism that the world order, the New World Order, is trying to put over on us by propping us up these clowns and expecting us to choose one and pinning us into the corner, battling it out with each other, while they're just basically already have in mind who they're going to choose in most cases.
Exactly. Just like a puppet show.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up this point in light of Independence Day and also the Trump-Biden debate being still a little fresh. So we'll go with that. My website is jimdukeperspective.com, and listen to us on any of your favorite apps. Please give it a like. More than that, give it a listen. We're dropping in listeners sometimes. They don't like some of the topics. Let's go for the real substance and talk about the rational issues and the practical points about it, so that you are better informed. Well, stay with us, and God bless. We'll see you next time.